Welcome. So today's practice is all about the feet. So getting a tennis ball, and we'll prepare to get into the feet. Start in a Tadasana and just notice how you feel. You can have the tennis ball just aside there, feet about hip distance apart. You might lift your toes, spread your toes, and lower them back down. Ground into all corners of your feet. Lift your inner arches as you hug your outer ankles in. Notice how your legs feel. You might take the front of your thighs back as you ground your sits bones towards the earth. And lengthen through your spine. Lengthen through the crown of your head. And notice how this feels. Tadasana, mountain pose. And then we're going to use the tennis ball. So bring the tennis ball under one foot, under the ball of one foot with the heel on the mat, and put some pressure on the ball. So you might spread your toes, curling the toes around the ball, and press a little bit onto the ball, whatever you can withstand. And you can either have the leg straight or bent, whatever feels good to you. And then maybe lift the toes as you inhale and then curl the toes as you exhale. So a little bit here, lifting and curling. And you can use other balls as well. You could use a racket ball or another type of therapy ball. If you're using something that's harder or if it has little spikes in it, you might not want to put much weight on it. Just really listen to what your feet are telling you. A lot of pressure points in our feet. And then lift the heel up and move the ball to the center of the foot. Just slowly start to move your foot over the ball. Notice how that feels. There might be some tender areas. Notice what's going on. Sometimes we're finding areas that we don't even notice, especially if you have a high arch. You might not walk on that part of your foot. And if the ball shoots out away from you, just go get it. And then a little bit faster. Little squiggles. Keeping some pressure on the ball. And then step off the ball, come back into your Tadasana, and notice the difference between your right and left. The side you've done and the side you've not done yet. Notice what you're feeling. And then we'll do the other side. Place the ball under the other foot, right under the ball of your foot. Heel is on the mat. Spread your toes and then curl the toes. Keep some pressure on the ball. Again, you might lift the toes, spreading them wide, and then curl the toes as you exhale. Find what works best for you. I get my hands into it too. Notice how this feels. Keeping some pressure on the ball. And then lift the heel, move the ball to the middle part of your foot, and slowly move your foot over the ball. Notice any areas that might feel tender. Just notice what you're feeling. Exploring all around that area with the ball. And then a little bit faster, little squiggles. The feet are so important to pay attention to. Walking, standing, using our feet every day. Just gotta pay attention and give them a little extra love sometimes. And then step off the ball, come back to your Tadasana and pause. Notice sensation. Notice if you feel any sort of energy flow in the legs that maybe wasn't there earlier. So another great way to get into the feet, as well as the hands, is to come to a seat. And if you need to, you might have a blanket. Sit on a blanket. Bring your feet into like a Baddha Konasana. A little bit more with the feet away from the hips, though. And with the hips on a blanket, it's a little easier to hinge forward from the hips so that you can reach your feet. And maybe just start to give your feet a little massage. So moving your thumbs over the bottom of your feet. And then you might move your hands up and maybe squeeze the toes, whatever feels good. So just massaging your feet. Should feel pretty good. Maybe squeezing the toes a little bit. Whatever your feet want. Whatever your cat wants. So another great one for the feet is, and also the ankles, is the toe squat. So you might need a block or your blanket. So coming into a squat with your feet together. See if you can lower the knees down. If you can do this easily, you may not need a prop. But if your knees or ankles or toes are like, that's not working, that's more like excruciasana, then you might want a block under the knees. And if that's feeling great, wonderful. Or maybe you don't need something as high. You might prefer to use a blanket so that you can rest the knees on the blanket. So whatever works for you, eventually you'll be able to work up more time and to have the knees a little bit lower, maybe without any props at all. So come into your variation. This toe squat is really great for the toes, the ankles, the Achilles. Make sure your little toes are all going in the same direction as your other toes. And just stay here as long as feels appropriate to you. Initially, it's going to be like a couple seconds. And then you can work up to it, maybe up to a minute or so, whatever feels good to you. For me now, it's quite comfortable. When I first started to do this pose, it was excruciasana. So just holding as long as feels appropriate. And then when you are ready to come out, if you have a blanket or block under your knees, place your hands on either side of your knees, lift your knees, remove those props, and then lower the knees back down. Reach your hands forward, release one foot and then the other, and give your toes a little bit of a flapping. And that should feel pretty good. And then whatever feels good to you, if you want to explore tucking your toes and finding a down dog, and just notice how that feels. Or whatever pose your body is wanting. Just notice how your legs feel, your feet. And then when you're ready, lower the knees down, come to a seat, and pause. Notice how you feel. I hope you enjoyed that practice for our feet and getting into the hands a little bit too as we were massaging the feet. You can also do a little bit into your hands, doing a little stretch, pulling your fingers towards you with the palm away. That sometimes can feel really nice. And then just clasping your hands together, pushing the arms away from you, and just rotating the wrists. Feel really nice. Reversing direction. And then opening and closing the hands too is great for the hands and wrists. Whatever feels good to you. Listen to your body. Make sure you drink plenty of water. And I'll see you next time on the mat.